Some desserts are empty for a reason. I wish I had understood that before I stepped into the Rub al-Khali. My name is Omar El-Khatib. I'm a cultural anthropologist based in Abu Dhabi, specializing in ancient Middle Eastern folklore. 3 years ago, I received an email from an anonymous sender. Attached was a scan of a hand-drawn map, claiming to reveal the buried ruins of Ubar, the legendary Atlantis of the Sands, deep in the empty quarter. Ubar was a city said to have defied God and vanished beneath the desert. I always thought it was myth, but the coordinates on the map pointed to a remote section of the Rub al-Khali, an area so uninhabitable that even Bedouins refused to pass through it. Curiosity overruled caution. We set out in a convoy. Me, Rashid, my Emirati guide, Tanya, a German photographer, and Tariq, a desert survival expert. Our destination was 4 days away by vehicle, further than any modern mapping system had recorded. The moment we crossed the last checkpoint of civilization, the sand turned darker, as if scorched. Rashid mumbled prayers under his breath. "This land is not our," he whispered. By nightfall, we set up camp, but none of us could sleep. The wind wasn't normal. It whistled like it had a voice, and Tanya swore she saw something standing at the edge of the dunes. A tall black figure, watching. On the third day we arrived. It wasn't just ruins. There were pillars, broken statues, and what looked like caved-in chambers, all buried beneath waves of red sand. The architecture was not Islamic, nor pre-Islamic. It was older, almost alien in design. As we explored, we found inscriptions etched in an unknown dialect. And then, we found a sealed obsidian door, half exposed by a windstorm the night before. Rashid begged us not to enter. He said we were trespassing on land inhabited by the Ifrit, the most dangerous class of Djinn. But Tariq, always the skeptic, forced it open. That's when everything changed. The chamber led to a spiral tunnel descending beneath the desert. It wasn't man-made. It curved unnaturally, like it had been carved by wind or something, alive. Deep inside, we found a massive hall, ceilingless, open to the sky. At its center was an altar of black stone, surrounded by burned bones. Then came the whispering. None of us spoke, but we all heard it. 1,000 voices echoing through the wind, saying one word: leave. Tanya started convulsing and bleeding from her ears. Rashid fled. Tariq turned to me and said, "It's not real." But his eyes, they were filled with something else, like he wasn't seeing me anymore. That night I couldn't find Tariq. I found Tanya shivering, eyes wide, staring at a fire she hadn't lit. She said Tariq walked into the dunes and vanished. I went searching. Hours passed. At some point, I found him standing atop a dune, perfectly still. "Why are you here?" he asked in a voice that wasn't his. When I reached for him, he turned and screamed so loud my ears rang. But it wasn't just sound, it was pressure, like something had entered the air itself. He ran into the sands again, barefoot. I never saw him after that. Rashid returned at dawn. He was crying. He showed me his arm, burned with a symbol I had seen on the altar. He said he had tried to leave the desert, but his GPS looped him in circles. He saw cities in the sand that weren't real. Heard his mother's voice, though she died years ago. He told me this desert was not just cursed, it was guarded by something ancient, something that feeds on despair, curiosity, and ego. He begged me to abandon the ruins, but I had gone too far. I wanted answers. I returned to the altar alone. The chamber was darker than before. The wind had stopped entirely. The silence was deafening. I approached the stone, and this time, I heard my own voice whispering secrets I had never told anyone. My childhood shame, my regrets, my fears. Then the shadows shifted. From behind the altar, a tall, faceless figure emerged. Its body was smoke, its eyes were flame. It spoke inside my head, not with words but with feelings. Rage, hunger, and ancient, infinite sadness. "You opened the gate," it said. "Now walk among us." I woke up a day later, half buried in sand, 40 miles from where I last remembered being. My face was sunburned. My lips were cracked. My journal was missing. So was the map. Only Rashid remained. Tanya was gone. Tariq was gone. Rashid never spoke again. He died 3 months later, silently, in his sleep, eyes wide open. Since that day, I haven't returned to the desert, but I dream about it, about the altar, the voice, and the whisper that lingers in my ears every time I close my eyes. You belong to us now.